Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Law, the institution of a sequence of steps by which legal judgments are invoked. Law, the institution of a sequence of steps by which legal judgments are invoked. Law, the institution of a sequence of steps by which legal judgments are invoked. A written account of what transpired at a meeting. Law, the administration of justice according to established rules and principles, based on the principle that a person cannot be deprived of life or liberty or property without appropriate legal procedures and safeguards. Law, the administration of justice according to established rules and principles, based on the principle that a person cannot be deprived of life or liberty or property without appropriate legal procedures and safeguards. Inability to discharge all your debts as they come due. The company had to declare bankruptcy. A legal process intended to ensure equality among the creditors of a corporation declared to be insolvent. A state of complete lack of some abstract property. Spiritual bankruptcy. A specific size and style of type within a type family. An enveloping structure or covering enclosing an animal or plant organ or part. The enclosing frame around a door or window opening. A person of a specified kind, usually with many eccentricities. A mental case. Printing. The receptacle in which a compositor has his type, which is divided into compartments for the different letters, spaces, or numbers. For English, a compositor will ordinarily have two such cases, the uppercase containing the capitals and the lowercase containing the small letters. The quantity contained in a case. The housing or outer covering of something. The clock has a walnut case. Bed linen consisting of a cover for a pillow. The burglar carried his loot in a pillowcase. A special set of circumstances. It may rain, in which case the picnic will be cancelled. An occurrence of something. It was a case of bad judgment. Enclose in, or as if in, a case. My feet were encased in mud. Nouns or pronouns or adjectives, often marked by inflection, related in some way to other words in a sentence. A comprehensive term for any proceeding in a court of law whereby an individual seeks a legal remedy. A person who is subjected to experimental or other observational procedures. Someone who is an object of investigation. The cases that we studied were drawn from two different communities. A glass container used to store and display items in a shop or museum or home. A person requiring professional services. A typical case was the suburban housewife described by a marriage counselor. A portable container for carrying several objects. The musicians left their instrument cases backstage. A problem requiring investigation. Perry Mason solved the case of the missing heir. A specific state of mind that is temporary. A case of the jitters. A statement of facts and reasons used to support an argument. He stated his case clearly. Look over, usually with the intention to rob. They men cased the house. The actual state of things. That was not the case. A comprehensive term for any proceeding in a court of law whereby an individual seeks a legal remedy. Any entity that produces an effect or is responsible for events or results. Give rise to. Cause to happen or occur, not always intentionally. Cause a commotion. A comprehensive term for any proceeding in a court of law whereby an individual seeks a legal remedy. Cause to do. Cause to act in a specified manner. A series of actions advancing a principle or tending toward a particular end. They worked in the cause of world peace. A justification for something existing or happening. He had no cause to complain. Events that provide the generative force that is the origin of something. They are trying to determine the cause of the crash. The legal proceedings initiated by a creditor to repossess the collateral for loan that is in default. The act of hearing attentively. They make good music, you should give them a hearing. An opportunity to state your case and be heard. They condemned him without a hearing. The ability to hear, the auditory faculty. His hearing was impaired. The range within which a voice can be heard. Able to perceive sound. A session, of a committee or grand jury, in which witnesses are called and testimony is taken. The investigative committee will hold hearings in Chicago. Law. A proceeding, usually by a court, where evidence is taken for the purpose of determining an issue of fact and reaching a decision based on that evidence. The act or fact of interposing one thing between or among others. A policy of intervening in the affairs of other countries. Care provided to improve a situation, especially medical procedures or applications that are intended to relieve illness or injury. The act of intervening, as to mediate a dispute, etc. It occurs without human intervention. Law. A proceeding that permits a person to enter into a lawsuit already in progress. Admission of person not an original party to the suit so that person can protect some right or interest that is allegedly affected by the proceedings. The purpose of intervention is to prevent unnecessary duplication of lawsuits. A legal proceeding in a court. A judicial contest to determine and enforce legal rights. A comprehensive term for any proceeding in a court of law whereby an individual seeks a legal remedy. A judicial proceeding brought by one party against another. One party prosecutes another for a wrong done or for protection of a right or for prevention of a wrong. A legal proceeding in a court. A judicial contest to determine and enforce legal rights. Changing the pronunciation of a borrowed word to agree with the borrower's phonology. The proceeding whereby a foreigner is granted citizenship. The introduction of animals or plants to places where they flourish but are not indigenous. The quality of being brought into conformity with nature. Changing the pronunciation of a borrowed word to agree with the borrower's phonology. The naturalization in English of many Italian words. The proceeding whereby a foreigner is granted citizenship. The introduction of animals or plants to places where they flourish but are not indigenous. The quality of being brought into conformity with nature. A process or series of acts, especially of a practical or mechanical nature, involved in a particular form of work. A set sequence of steps, part of larger computer program. A particular course of action intended to achieve a result. The procedure of obtaining a driver's license. A mode of conducting legal and parliamentary proceedings. A court action that places property under the control of a receiver during litigation so that it can be preserved for the benefit of all. The office of a receiver. The state of property that is in the hands of a receiver. The business is in receivership. A variety show with topical sketches and songs and dancing and comedians. Practice intended to polish performance or refresh the memory. A summary at the end that repeats the substance of a longer discussion. An essay or article that gives a critical evaluation, as of a book or play. Look at again. Examine again. Let's review your situation. Refresh one's memory. I reviewed the material before the test. A new appraisal or evaluation. Look back upon, a period of time, sequence of events, remember. She reviewed her achievements with pride. Hold a review, of troops. A subsequent examination of a patient for the purpose of monitoring earlier treatment. Appraise critically. She reviews books for the New York Times. Accounting. A service, less exhaustive than an audit, that provides some assurance to interested parties as to the reliability of financial data. A formal or official examination. The platoon stood ready for review. A periodical that publishes critical essays on current affairs or literature or art. Law. A judicial re-examination of the proceedings of a court, especially by an appellate court. Enhance the appearance of. This behavior doesn't suit you. Be agreeable or acceptable to. This suits my needs. A man's courting of a woman, seeking the affections of a woman, usually with the hope of marriage. Accord or comport with. This kind of behavior does not suit a young woman. A comprehensive term for any proceeding in a court of law whereby an individual seeks a legal remedy. The family brought suit against the landlord. A set of garments, usually including a jacket and trousers or skirt, for outerwear all of the same fabric and color. They buried him in his best suit. A petition or appeal made to a person of superior status or rank. Be agreeable or acceptable. This time suits me. Playing card in any of 4 sets of 13 cards in a pack. Each set has its own symbol and color. A flush is 5 cards in the same suit. Slang. A businessman dressed in a business suit. All the suits care about is the bottom line. A military engagement. He saw action in Korea. A judicial proceeding brought by one party against another. One party prosecutes another for a wrong done or for protection of a right or for prevention of a wrong. The operating part that transmits power to a mechanism. The piano had a very stiff action. Institute legal proceedings against. File a suit against. She actioned the company for discrimination. Put in effect. He actioned the operation. The state of being active. He is out of action. A process existing in or produced by nature, rather than by the intent of human beings. The action of natural forces. An act by a government body or supranational organization. Recent federal action undermined the segregationist position. Something done, usually as opposed to something said. There were stories of murders and other unnatural actions. The most important or interesting work or activity in a specific area or field. The action is no longer in technology stocks but in municipal bonds. The series of events that form a plot. His novels always have a lot of action. The trait of being active and energetic and forceful. A man of action. Trying something to find out about it. A sample for 10 days free trial. An annoying or frustrating or catastrophic event. His mother-in-law's visits were a great trial for him. The act of testing something. In the experimental trials, the amount of carbon was measured separately. The act of undergoing testing. Candidates must compete in a trial of skill. Law. The determination of a person's innocence or guilt by due process of law. He had a fair trial and the jury found him guilty. Sports. A preliminary competition to determine qualifications. The trials for the semifinals began yesterday. A judicial proceeding brought by one party against another. One party prosecutes another for a wrong done or for protection of a right or for prevention of a wrong. The appropriation of ideas or words, etc., from another source. The act of accepting with approval, favorable reception. Its adoption by society. A legal proceeding that creates a parent-child relation between persons not related by blood. The adopted child is entitled to all privileges belonging to a natural child of the adoptive parents, including the right to inherit. Attractiveness that interests or pleases or stimulates. His smile was part of his appeal to her. Request for a sum of money. An appeal to raise money for starving children. Earnest or urgent request. An appeal for help. Be attractive to. The idea of a vacation appeals to me. Request earnestly, something from somebody, ask for aid or protection. Appeal to somebody for help. Cite as an authority, resort to. I appealed to the law of 1900. Challenge, a decision. She appealed the verdict. Law. A legal proceeding in which the appellant resorts to a higher court for the purpose of obtaining a review of a lower court decision and a reversal of the lower court's judgment or the granting of a new trial. Their appeal was denied in the superior court. Take a court case to a higher court for review. He was found guilty but appealed immediately. The collection of rules imposed by authority. The great problem for jurisprudence to allow freedom while enforcing order. The branch of philosophy concerned with the law and the principles that lead courts to make the decisions they do. The learned profession that is mastered by graduate study in a law school and that is responsible for the judicial system. He studied law at Yale. A rule or body of rules of conduct inherent in human nature and essential to or binding upon human society. The collection of rules imposed by authority. Civilization presupposes respect for the law. The force of policemen and officers. The law came looking for him. The branch of philosophy concerned with the law and the principles that lead courts to make the decisions they do. A generalization that describes recurring facts or events in nature. The laws of thermodynamics. Legal document setting forth rules governing a particular kind of activity. There is a law against kidnapping.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.